The crystalline spires of New Alexandria gleamed in the morning sunlight as Dr. Sarah Chen reviewed the signal data for the 1000th time. 20 years as SETI's lead xenolinguist hadn't prepared her for this moment. Clear, structured patterns from the Carina Nebula that could only be artificial in origin. The first concrete proof of intelligent alien life. The Nexari arrived 3 months later. Their ship, a graceful construct of silvery metal and pulsing bioluminescent veins, slipped into Earth orbit with an elegance that made human spacecraft look clumsy by comparison. They were beautiful beings, tall, ethereal creatures with iridescent skin that shifted colors with their emotions and 4 arms that moved with hypnotic grace. Their ambassador, Kiravesh, stood before the United Earth Council and spoke words that would change human history forever. "We come seeking friends," she said, her translator converting musical tones into English, "in a galaxy that grows colder with each passing cycle." The Nexari were an ancient species, masters of biotechnology who had achieved spaceflight when humans were still perfecting agriculture. But they were peaceful to their core, having long ago chosen to focus their advancement on art, science, and the enhancement of life rather than weapons of war. This philosophy had served them well for millennia, until now. Captain David Torres stood on the bridge of the UES Hyperion, watching as another Nexari refugee ship limped through the quantum gate into Earth space. In the 6 months since first contact, he'd grown to deeply respect these gentle beings. Their insights into biology had already revolutionized human medicine, while their artistic achievements had inspired a renaissance in human culture. The Nexari asked for little in return, only friendship and the occasional trade of resources they couldn't synthesize. "Captain," his XO, Commander Rachel Williams, called out. Priority transmission from Nexari Prime. The holographic display flickered to life, showing Ambassador Kiravesh. Her normally pearl-white skin had darkened to a stormy gray, a sign of grave distress. "Captain Torres, we require immediate assistance. The hegemony. They're here." The hegemony. Torres felt his blood run cold. The Nexari had warned Earth about this aggressive coalition of species that operated from the shadows, manipulating the Galactic Council through bribes and blackmail. But they had thought they had more time. Multiple contacts dropping out of quantum space, Tactical reported. Energy signatures match hegemony warships. They're launching fighters. Energy weapons charging. Torres watched in horror as the feed from Nexari Prime showed massive ships descending through the atmosphere, their weapon systems painting the sky with deadly light. The Nexari's defensive screens, designed more to protect against solar radiation and meteorites than weapons, collapsed almost instantly. "Ambassador," Torres began, but Kiravesh cut him off. "The Galactic Council. They knew. They knew this was coming." Her voice trembled with emotion, her skin now almost black with despair. "We petitioned them for protection last week when we detected unusual quantum disturbances. They assured us they would investigate. Instead, she paused, composing herself. "They sold us out. The hegemony wants our biotechnology, our worlds. And the Council decided it was more profitable to look the other way." Torres clenched his fists. "We'll send help. The Hyperion can be ready to jump in 20 minutes. "No." Kiravesh's response was firm. "Our orbital defenses are already gone. Our cities are burning. If Earth intervenes now, the hegemony will simply destroy you too. You're not ready to face their technology." "Not yet." Her skin shifted to a deep blue, the color of resolve. "But promise me something, David Torres. Promise me that Earth will remember us. Learn from this. Build. Grow stronger. And when you're ready," her eyes flashed, "make them pay for what they've done here today." The transmission cut off as another wave of hegemony ships descended on Nexari Prime. Torres stood frozen, watching the feed from long-range sensors as the massacre unfolded. The Nexari never had a chance. Their greatest cities, centers of learning and art that had stood for thousands of years, were reduced to ash in minutes. In the days that followed, Humanity watched in helpless rage as reports filtered in. Nexari Prime hadn't been the only target. Every major Nexari world had been hit simultaneously. Billions dead. A civilization that had helped humanity take its first steps into the galactic community, virtually wiped out in a single day. 2 weeks later, the Galactic Council issued a statement expressing regret over the unfortunate conflict, but claiming they had no authority to intervene in what they termed an internal matter of hegemony security interests. In her office at the United Earth Defense Force headquarters, Dr. Sarah Chen placed a small crystal on her desk, a gift from the Nexari, containing a complete database of their scientific and cultural knowledge. Beside it, she laid a piece of paper containing the translation of a message hidden deep within the data. Coordinates, specifications, weaknesses. The Nexari had known this might happen. They had prepared. She pressed the comm button. "Get me Fleet Admiral Zhang. Tell him I have something he needs to see. And inform the Defense Council that we need to accelerate the Artemis program. Immediately." The hegemony and their puppets in the Galactic Council thought they had destroyed the Nexari. Instead, they had given humanity something far more dangerous than any weapon. A purpose, a reason to reach for the stars not with open hands, but with closed fists. Earth would remember, Earth would learn, and Earth would make them pay. Fleet Admiral Helena Zhang stood at the viewport of Lunar Command, watching Earth's orbital shipyards pulse with activity. 6 months had passed since the Nexari massacre, and humanity had not been idle. The massive skeletal frames of new warships dominated the view, their hulls incorporating crystalline technologies reverse-engineered from Nexari databases. "Admiral," her aide called out. "The Phantom just dropped out of quantum space." They found something. The UES Phantom, one of Earth's most advanced stealth vessels, had been conducting reconnaissance missions along the edges of hegemony space. Its captain, Maya Patel, appeared on the main display, her expression grim but excited. "Admiral, we've confirmed the rumors. There are survivors." Maya's hands danced across her console, bringing up sensor data. A hidden Nexari colony, deep in the Perseus Arm. But they're not alone. The hegemony found them 3 days ago. Helena's jaw tightened. "How many ships?" "2 heavy cruisers, support vessels. They're taking their time, Admiral. Making an example of the colony's orbital facilities first." Maya's dark eyes flashed. "We can get there in 36 hours at maximum burn. The Artemis prototypes aren't fully tested." Helena's strategic officer, Colonel Chen Wei, interjected. "If we commit now, we're out of time for testing." Helena cut him off. She turned to face the assembled command staff. "This is what we've been preparing for. Authorization code, Zhang Alpha 7. Initiate Operation Thunderbolt." Across Earth's sphere of influence, carefully laid plans sprang into action. The first wave of ships, equipped with hybrid human Nexari technology, moved into launch positions. Ground forces boarded massive troop transports, their powered armor incorporating biotechnology that would have been impossible 6 months ago. In her private lab beneath Mount Cheyenne, Dr. Sarah Chen made final adjustments to the quantum communication array, a device that would allow Earth's forces to coordinate across vast distances without relying on the Galactic Council's compromised networks. Her hands touched the crystal the Nexari had left behind, drawing strength from its soft glow. "The targeting algorithms are ready," her colleague, Dr. James Martinez, announced. The Nexari data was right. Their quantum signatures have a weakness, a flaw they engineered into their own technology, knowing the hegemony would steal it. Sarah nodded. Even in death, the Nexari were helping humanity fight back. "Upload it to the fleet. And James, thank you for believing in this." Aboard the UES Hyperion, now refitted with experimental weapons, Captain David Torres addressed his crew. 6 months ago, we watched friends die. We watched a civilization burn because they dared to help humanity take its first steps into the galaxy. Today, we take our second step. His XO, Rachel Williams, handed him a tablet showing the final deployment orders. 5 carrier groups, 20 heavy cruisers, dozens of smaller vessels, the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled, and hopefully enough to save the last free Nexari. In high orbit, Helena Jong gave the final authorization. The fleet surged forward, quantum drives engaging in a carefully choreographed sequence that lit up space like a new constellation. The hegemony sensors would detect them. Of course, that was part of the plan. Message from Phantom, her communications officer reported. Captain Patel reports the hegemony ships are responding to our quantum signatures. They're calling for reinforcements. Helena allowed herself a small smile. Good. Let them come. Let them see exactly what humanity has become. She opened a channel to the fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Zhang. You know why we're here. You know what's at stake. The hegemony thinks they can act with impunity because the Galactic Council turns a blind eye. Today, we show them what happens when they mistake humanity's patience for weakness. The fleet accelerated, pushing their new drives to their limits. In the medical bay of each ship, biotechnology derived from Nexari research kept the crews healthy despite the intense gravitational forces. In the weapon bays, quantum-tipped missiles waited, their guidance systems programmed to exploit the flaw the Nexari had discovered. On the bridge of the hegemony flagship Eternal Dominion, Supreme Commander Vexkar received the sensor data with growing concern. The human fleet was larger than intelligence had suggested possible, and their energy signatures, impossible. They couldn't have mastered quantum technology so quickly. His second-in-command's voice quavered. Supreme Commander, we're detecting unusual patterns in their drive signatures. They'd match Nexari designs. Vexkar's multiple eyes widened. The humans hadn't just survived the Nexari. They had inherited their legacy. And now they were coming with the full force of that inheritance, driven by a thirst for vengeance that his species could barely comprehend. As the human fleet approached their target, Helena Zhang touched the small crystal pendant she wore. A gift from Ambassador Kiravesh. We remember, she whispered. And now we return. The quantum drives spooled up for their final jump. In 30 minutes, humanity would announce its presence to the galaxy not with words of peace, but with thunder and fire. The hegemony was about to learn that they hadn't destroyed the Nexari's legacy. They had given it teeth. Would you like me to continue with Part 3? This section has established humanity's technological advancement and set up the coming battle, while maintaining the theme of revenge and justice. The quantum rupture tore open like a burning wound in space, disgorging Earth's fleet into the Perseus arm. Captain David Torres felt the Hyperion shudder as its new drives stabilized, the Nexari crystals in the engine core pulsing with ethereal light. Multiple hegemony signatures, tactical reported. 8 capital ships, twice that in support vessels. They're moving to surround the colony. On the main viewer, Torres could see the hegemony fleet. Massive, dark shapes bristling with weapon emplacements. Their ships were ugly things, built for intimidation as much as war. Behind them, the Nexari colony's orbital stations burned, their elegant architecture twisted by weapons fire. All ships, Battle Formation Delta. Admiral Zhang's voice came through crystal clear on the quantum comm. Remember your training. Remember why we're here. Weapons free. The human fleet split into predetermined groups, executing maneuvers that would have been impossible 6 months ago. The Nexari biotechnology, integrated into their ship systems, allowed them to withstand forces that would have torn conventional vessels apart. The hegemony fired first, their energy weapons lighting up space. But the human ships were ready. Their hulls, treated with Nexari-derived metamaterials, scattered the incoming fire. Not invulnerable, but enough to give them the precious seconds they needed. Launch all fighters, Torres ordered. Target Package Alpha. From the carrier groups, swarms of aerospace fighters emerged. Each was piloted by a human mind linked directly to their craft through Nexari neural interfaces. The hegemony's automated defense systems couldn't predict their movements. The human element made them too unpredictable. Supreme Commander Vexkar watched in growing horror as his carefully arranged formation began to falter. These weren't the primitive humans his intelligence reports had described. These were warriors who moved with impossible precision, using technology that shouldn't have been possible for them to master so quickly. "Sir," his tactical officer's voice cracked with panic. "Their weapons, they're using quantum-phased missiles. The signatures, they're exploiting the resonance flaw in our shields." The flaw the hegemony had stolen from Nexeri technology, never realizing it was a trap laid centuries ago. The humans had sprung it perfectly. On the bridge of the Hyperion, Torres watched as the first wave of missiles struck home. Hegemony shields collapsed. Their own quantum technology turned against them. All ships pressed the advantage. Don't let them regroup. The battle devolved into chaos, but it was chaos that favored the human fleet. Their smaller ships darted between the massive hegemony vessels, their enhanced maneuverability making them nearly impossible to target. Every shot they fired was guided by targeting algorithms refined through months of simulation using Nexeri data. "Admiral," Maya Patel's voice cut through the tactical chatter. "Phantom has breached their lines. We have a clear shot at their command ship." Helena Zhang's response was immediate. "Take it." The Phantom decloaked practically on top of the Eternal Dominion, its experimental weapons systems powered by crystalline matrices that pulsed with cold fire. The next few seconds wrote themselves into military history, a testament to human audacity and Nexeri engineering. Vexkar barely had time to realize what was happening before his flagship's systems began to fail. The humans hadn't just copied Nexeri technology. They had improved upon it, adapted it to warfare in ways its peaceful creators never would have imagined. "All ships," he broadcast on all frequencies. "Retreat to." The order came too late. The Phantom's main guns fired, quantum-tipped rounds punching through the Eternal Dominion's compromised shields like they weren't there. Secondary explosions chained through the massive vessel as its power grid overloaded. "Sir," Rachel Williams called out from her station on the Hyperion, "we're picking up transport signatures from the colony. They're evacuating civilians." Torres nodded grimly. "Cover those transports. Nothing gets through to them." The remaining human ships formed a protective screen around the civilian evacuation, their enhanced weapons keeping the increasingly disorganized hegemony forces at bay. Within hours, it was over. The hegemony fleet was in ruins, its surviving ships retreating in disarray. In the aftermath, as medical ships descended to the colony to treat the wounded, Helena Zhang received the final casualty reports. The human fleet had suffered damage, yes, but nothing like what the analysts had predicted. The Nexeri technology had performed beyond their highest expectations. "Message from the colony leadership," her communications officer announced. They're asking to speak with the ones who remembered." Helena touched her crystal pendant, thinking of Kira Vesh's last words. "Put them through to my ready room, and get me a secure channel to Earth. The Galactic Council needs to know that the game has changed." On the surface of the colony world, Dr. Sarah Chen walked through streets that could have been from Nexeri Prime, her heart aching at the sight of the devastation. But among the ruins, she saw something else. Hope. Nexeri children, their skin shimmering with colors she hadn't seen since before the massacre, watched the human ships overhead with wonder instead of fear. A local elder approached her, his skin shifting through patterns that her translator interpreted as profound gratitude. "You kept the knowledge safe," he said. "You understood what we left behind." Sarah nodded. "We did more than keep it safe. We made sure it would never be used against your people again." The elder's skin rippled with a new color, one she had never seen before. "Then perhaps," he said softly, "this is not the end of our civilization, but the beginning of something new, something stronger." As night fell on the colony world, the human fleet maintained its protective orbit. This was just the beginning. The hegemony would retaliate, of course. The Galactic Council would posture and threaten. But humanity had sent its message, written in the burning wreckage of hegemony warships. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted. Earth had remembered. Earth had learned. And Earth had proven that it could do more than just remember. It could change the very rules of the game. Would you like me to continue with Part 4? This section has showcased humanity's military capabilities while maintaining the emotional core of vengeance and protection. The Galactic Council chambers had never seen anything quite like this. Representative Kizera of the Solarian Republic stood before the assembled delegates, her crystalline form refracting light as she spoke. For too long, we have allowed the hegemony to operate unchecked. The humans have shown us another way. 3 months had passed since the Battle of Perseus, as it came to be known. The footage of Earth's victory had spread across the galaxy despite the Council's attempts to suppress it. The sight of a young species masterfully wielding Nexari technology to defend the very people the Council had abandoned had sparked something unprecedented: hope. In her office aboard Lunar Command, Admiral Helena Zhang reviewed the latest intelligence reports. The hegemony was mobilizing, yes, but they weren't the only ones. Dozens of species that had suffered under their shadow were reaching out to Earth through covered channels. The Solarians are officially requesting an alliance, her diplomatic officer, Jonathan Hayes, announced. They're offering their quantum crystal technology in exchange for our hybrid propulsion systems. The Aetherian Collective has also pledged support, added Dr. Sarah Chen, now Earth's chief xenotechnological advisor. Their bioengineering capabilities could revolutionize our medical technology even further. On the bridge of the UES Hyperion, now part of Earth's rapidly expanding Second Fleet, Captain David Torres received a transmission that made his heart race. It was from a hegemony military outpost, but the sender wasn't hegemony. "This is Commander Vikstall of the former Hegemony Defense Force," the message began. "We've seen what you did at Perseus. Many of us never wanted the massacre of the Nexari. We were following orders, but..." A pause. "We want to help. We have information. Fleet movements, defense codes, everything." The defections began slowly at first, then accelerated. The hegemony's iron grip had always depended on fear and the belief that resistance was futile. Earth had shattered that belief. In a secure facility beneath Geneva, human and alien scientists worked together, combining technologies in ways none of them had imagined possible. Nexari biotechnology merged with Solarian crystals, enhanced by Aetherian organic computing. The results were staggering. "It's not just about weapons anymore," Dr. Martinez explained to the United Earth Council. "Every advancement we make in military technology has civilian applications. Medical breakthroughs, environmental restoration, faster-than-light communications. We're advancing centuries in months." But the hegemony wasn't going quietly. Their response to the defections was brutal, destroying entire colonies suspected of sympathizing with what they termed the human rebellion. It only drove more species into Earth's growing alliance. "They still don't understand," Maya Patel remarked during a strategy session aboard the Phantom. "Every act of cruelty just proves we're right. Every destroyed world becomes a rallying cry." The turning point came at the Battle of Helios Gate, a crucial quantum space junction. The hegemony committed a third of their total fleet strength to holding it. They faced not just human ships, but a combined force. Earth vessels fighting alongside Solarian crystalline ships, Aetherian organic cruisers, and even defected hegemony warships. All allied ships. "This is Admiral Zhang." Helena's voice carried across the quantum network. "Today we show the galaxy what unity looks like. Today we prove that different species standing together are stronger than any empire built on fear." The battle that followed would be studied in military academies for centuries to come. Each species brought their unique strengths: human adaptability and determination, Solarian precision, Aetherian intuition, and the intimate knowledge of hegemony tactics from the defectors. The hegemony fleet never stood a chance. As news of the victory spread, The Galactic Council faced a crisis. More of its members were openly supporting Earth's alliance. The corruption that had allowed the hegemony to operate with impunity was being exposed day by day. In a historic session, broadcast across all known space, Representative Kizura made the announcement. The Galactic Council hereby recognizes the United Species Alliance as a legitimate political and military force. Furthermore, we call for immediate sanctions against the hegemony for their crimes against sentient rights. The council chamber erupted in chaos, but it didn't matter. The momentum was unstoppable. On the surviving Nexeri colony world, now a key alliance base, Dr. Sarah Chen watched young Nexari working alongside humans and other species, their skin shimmering with colors of joy and purpose. They were no longer victims to be avenged, but partners in building something new. The hegemony thought they could break us, a Nexeri elder told her, his skin rippling with determination. Instead, they made us part of something greater than we ever were alone. Admiral Zhang stood at her familiar viewport, watching alliance ships of all designs moving in perfect formation. Earth had set out to avenge the Nexeri, but they had achieved something far more powerful. They had united the galaxy's oppressed species into a force for change. The final battle was approaching. The hegemony, desperate and cornered, was gathering its remaining forces for one last stand. But now they wouldn't face just humanity. They would face the combined might of a dozen species, each bringing their own strengths to the fight. The galaxy was changing, and at its heart was the most powerful force of all. The unbreakable bonds forged between species who had chosen to stand together against tyranny. Would you like me to continue with the final part? This section has shown how humanity's quest for vengeance evolved into something greater, while maintaining the story's core themes of unity and justice. The hegemony homeworld of Dominion Prime hung like a dark jewel in space, its orbital rings bristling with defense platforms. This was it, the final stronghold of an empire that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries. The combined fleets of the United Species Alliance gathered at the quantum jump point, their ships representing the largest assembly of military force in known galactic history. Admiral Helena Zhang stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned Alliance flagship Remembrance, a vessel that embodied the combined technological achievements of a dozen species. Around her, officers from Earth, Solaria, Aether, and even former hegemony worlds worked in perfect harmony. The hegemony has recalled every remaining ship to defend their homeworld, Captain Torres reported from the Hyperion. Initial scans show over 300 capital ships. They're desperate. Maya Patel added from the Phantom's cloaked position near Dominion Prime. Their leadership is fracturing. Some want to surrender, others are calling for the deployment of prohibited weapons. Helena touched her crystal pendant, the same one she'd worn since the day the Nexeri fell. Open a channel to all Alliance ships. The quantum comm network activated, connecting every vessel in the vast fleet. Humans, Solarians, Aetherians, and more, all waited for her words. A year ago, we watched as the hegemony destroyed a peaceful civilization. We watched as the Galactic Council, corrupted by greed and fear, turned a blind way. They thought that was the end of the story. She paused, looking at the diverse crew around her. They were wrong. The Nexeri didn't just leave us their technology. They left us a vision of what the galaxy could be. Species working together, sharing knowledge, helping each other grow. The hegemony tried to destroy that vision. Instead, they united us in ways they never imagined possible. On the surface of Dominion Prime, the hegemony high command was in chaos. Supreme Overlord Vexthar watched in growing horror as the Alliance fleet moved into attack position. His advisors had assured him that different species could never truly work together, that their differences would tear them apart. The coordinated attack that followed proved just how wrong they had been. The battle began with a symphony of advanced technology. Solarian crystal ships phased through hegemony defenses, their quantum-shifted weapons finding gaps in supposedly impenetrable shields. Aetherian organic cruisers released swarms of bioengineered fighters that adapted to enemy tactics in real time. Human vessels led the charge with their hybrid technology, their crews linked through Nexari neural interfaces that allowed them to react with impossible speed. Phantom Squadron, you have your target, Helena commanded. End this. Maya Patel led her stealth ships through the chaos of battle, their advanced cloaking technology, a combination of human ingenuity and Solarian crystals, rendering them invisible even to Hegemony's best sensors. Their mission: decapitate the Hegemony leadership once and for all. On the Hyperion, David Torres coordinated the main assault. All ships, execute Pattern Omega. Show them what unity looks like. The Alliance fleet moved as one organism, each species' ships complementing the other's strengths. Where Hegemony weapons found a weakness in one type of vessel, another would move to protect it. It was more than just military coordination. It was a demonstration of what the galaxy could achieve when species worked together instead of against each other. In the depths of the Hegemony command bunker, Supreme Overlord Vexthar reached for the forbidden weapons controls, planet-killing devices that would take billions of his own people with them. But before he could activate them, the wall dissolved into quantum fire. Maya Patel stepped through the breach, flanked by a mixed team of human and alien commandos. "It's over," she said simply. The news of the Hegemony's surrender spread across the galaxy at quantum speed. On thousands of worlds, beings of all species celebrated. The nightmare was over. In the aftermath, Dr. Sarah Chen walked through the halls of the former Hegemony archives with a team of Alliance scientists. The secrets they uncovered would help heal the wounds of countless worlds. But more importantly, they found something else. Proof that the Hegemony's rise to power had been built on stolen technology and betrayed trusts from dozens of species. 1 month later, in the rebuilt Galactic Council chamber, now relocated to neutral space, Helena Zhang stood beside representatives from every Alliance species. The Nexari elder who had survived the Perseus colony attack spoke first, his skin shimmering with colors of hope and renewal. "From the ashes of our near destruction, something remarkable has grown. The United Species Alliance is not just a military force. It is a promise that never again will any species face extinction alone. Never again will the strong be allowed to prey upon the weak." The formal dissolution of the Hegemony was followed by the establishment of the Galactic Concordat, a new governing body built on principles of mutual respect and cooperation. Every species, from the most ancient to the newest spacefaring civilization, would have an equal voice. On Earth, in the memorial garden built to honor the fallen Nexari, Admiral Zhang met with the survivors. Their numbers were growing as more hidden colonies were discovered and refugees returned from secret sanctuaries. But more importantly, their culture was evolving, strengthened by their integration into the wider galactic community. "We came seeking vengeance," Helena told the assembled crowd, "but we found something greater. We found a future worth building." The crystal in her pendant pulsed softly, its light joining with thousands of others held by humans and aliens alike. The Hegemony had tried to destroy one civilization. Instead, they had helped forge something unprecedented, a galaxy united not by fear, but by hope. As the sun set on worlds across known space, ships of all species flew together, their crews working side by side. The age of empires was over. The age of unity had begun. And somewhere, in the quantum streams that connected all of space, the spirit of the Nexari lived on, not just in the technology they had left behind, but in the dream of cooperation and peace they had inspired. A dream that humanity had helped transform into reality. The end was just the beginning. This concludes our story, bringing together themes of justice, unity, and the power of different species working together. The revenge mission evolved into something greater, the formation of a more just and united galaxy. Would you like me to provide the SEO-optimized title and description for the complete story?